Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it represents beginnings, initiation, and raw life force. Aries energy is about movement acting before hesitation and learning through direct experience. It is the spark that starts the entire zodiac cycle. Ruled by Mars, the planet of action and drive, Aries governs how we assert ourselves, take risks, and pursue what we want. Aries placements are often bold, courageous, and competitive, but at their core, Aries energy is about discovering identity through action. Aries doesn't wait to be ready. Readiness comes through doing. This sign thrives on challenge. When there's something to chase, overcome, or initiate, Aries feels alive. When energy is blocked or progress feels slow, Aries can become frustrated or restless. Patience is not Aries' natural strength, but momentum is. Emotionally, Aries processes feelings quickly. Anger can flare fast, but usually fades just as quickly. Aries is rarely resentful. It reacts, releases, and moves forward. This gives Aries emotional honesty, but can also lead to impulsive reactions. At its highest expression, Aries represents courage, leadership, and authenticity. It teaches the importance of trusting instinct and having the bravery to take the first step, even without guarantees. Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac, representing stability, security, and the development of self-worth. Where Aries initiates, Taurus sustains. Taurus energy focuses on building something reliable, comfortable, and lasting. Ruled by Venus, Taurus governs values, pleasure, and material security. This sign is deeply connected to the physical world: food, comfort, beauty, and nature. Taurus placements often seek consistency and predictability, preferring steady progress over sudden change. Taurus energy moves slowly but deliberately. Once committed, Taurus is incredibly loyal and persistent. However, this same strength can appear as stubbornness when change feels forced or rushed. Taurus doesn't resist change out of defiance, it resists because stability equals safety. Emotionally, Taurus seeks calm and reassurance. It processes feelings through the body, often grounding emotions through routine or sensory comfort. When Taurus feels secure, it becomes a grounding presence for others. At its highest expression, Taurus teaches patience, self-respect, and the importance of building a life that feels both stable and enjoyable. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac, representing curiosity, communication, and mental exploration. Gemini energy wants to understand the world by observing, asking questions, and exchanging ideas. Ruled by Mercury, Gemini governs thinking, speaking, and learning. Gemini placements are adaptable, mentally quick, and naturally curious. They thrive on variety and stimulation, often juggling multiple interests at once. Because Gemini processes life intellectually, it may struggle with emotional depth or consistency. However, its strength lies in its flexibility and ability to connect people and ideas. Gemini sees multiple sides of a situation naturally. Emotionally, Gemini feels most secure when mentally engaged. Conversation, learning, and stimulation bring comfort, while stagnation or silence can feel unsettling. At its highest expression, Gemini teaches curiosity, adaptability, and the power of communication to bridge differences. Cancer is the fourth sign of the zodiac, and it represents emotional security, nurturing, and the need for belonging. Where Gemini gathers information, Cancer turns inward, focusing on emotional safety and connection. Cancer energy teaches us how to care for ourselves, for others, and for what we consider home. Ruled by the moon, Cancer governs emotional responses, intuition, memory, and subconscious habits. This makes Cancer highly sensitive to emotional environments. Cancer placements often absorb the emotional tone of a room, responding instinctively rather than analytically. At its core, Cancer seeks safety. This can show up as a strong attachment to family, tradition, or familiar routines. When Cancer feels emotionally secure, it is deeply nurturing, compassionate, and protective. When it feels threatened or unsafe, it may retreat, become defensive, or withdraw emotionally as a form of self-preservation. Cancer energy is often misunderstood as weakness, but emotional sensitivity is actually Cancer's strength. It allows for deep empathy, emotional intelligence, and the ability to create safe spaces for others. Cancer understands emotional needs before they are spoken. Cancer also teaches the importance of boundaries. Because it feels so deeply, it must learn when to protect its energy and when to open up. Growth for Cancer comes from balancing care for others with care for itself. Leo is the fifth sign of the zodiac, representing creativity, confidence, and authentic self-expression. After Cancer establishes emotional safety, Leo steps forward to express individuality openly and proudly. Ruled by the Sun, Leo governs vitality, identity, and creative force. Leo energy wants to be seen not purely for attention, but because self-expression requires visibility. Creativity must be shared to be fully alive. Leo placements often have a natural presence. They tend to express themselves boldly, whether through leadership, performance, creativity, or personal style. When Leo energy is supported, it becomes warm, generous, and inspiring. However, when Leo feels ignored or unappreciated, it may struggle with insecurity or seek validation externally. Leo's growth comes from learning that self-worth is internal, not dependent on constant approval. At its highest expression, Leo teaches courage, the courage to be yourself without apology. It reminds us that joy, creativity, and play are not indulgences, but essential expressions of life force. Leo also represents the heart emotionally and symbolically. It governs how we love, how we give affection, and how we allow ourselves to receive appreciation. Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac, representing refinement, service, and improvement. After Leo expresses creativity, Virgo asks how that creativity can be made useful, efficient, and sustainable. Ruled by Mercury, Virgo governs analysis, organization, and problem-solving. Virgo energy notices details others overlook. It seeks clarity, order, and purpose through refinement. Virgo placements often feel a strong desire to be helpful. They may express care by fixing problems, improving systems, or offering practical support. This can sometimes appear as criticism, but at its core, Virgo wants things to function better. One of Virgo's greatest challenges is perfectionism. Because it sees flaws easily, Virgo may turn that scrutiny inward, becoming overly self-critical. Growth comes from learning discernment without judgment. Virgo teaches humility, the understanding that growth happens through consistent effort, not grand gestures. It values small improvements over time and finds meaning in service. At its highest expression, Virgo represents practical wisdom, reliability, and integrity. It reminds us that care is often shown through actions, not words. Libra is the seventh sign of the zodiac, representing balance, relationships, and harmony. After Virgo focuses on self-improvement, Libra shifts attention toward connection and partnership. Ruled by Venus, Libra governs love, beauty, fairness, and cooperation. Libra energy seeks balance internally and externally. It naturally considers multiple perspectives before forming conclusions. Libra placements often value relationships deeply. They seek mutual understanding and may feel most fulfilled when sharing experiences with others. This makes Libra skilled at diplomacy and conflict resolution. However, Libra's desire for harmony can sometimes lead to indecision or people-pleasing. Growth for Libra involves learning that balance does not always mean agreement. Libra teaches that relationships are mirrors. Through connection, we learn about ourselves, our values, and our boundaries. Libra energy highlights the importance of fairness and mutual respect. At its highest expression, Libra represents grace, cooperation, and conscious partnership. Scorpio is the eighth sign of the zodiac, representing transformation, emotional depth, and psychological truth. Where Libra seeks harmony, Scorpio seeks honesty even when it's uncomfortable. Ruled by Pluto, Scorpio governs power, intimacy, rebirth, and emotional intensity. Scorpio energy wants to understand what lies beneath the surface. It is not satisfied with shallow explanations or surface-level connections. Scorpio placements often experience emotions deeply and intensely. This can create profound loyalty and emotional strength, but also fear of vulnerability. Scorpio learns through transformation, shedding old identities and emerging stronger. Scorpio is often misunderstood as secretive or controlling, but at its core, Scorpio seeks trust. It opens fully only when emotional honesty feels safe. Growth for Scorpio involves learning to release control and allow transformation rather than resisting it. Sagittarius is the ninth sign of the zodiac, and it represents expansion, exploration, and the search for meaning. After Scorpio takes us inward into emotional depth and transformation, Sagittarius pulls our focus outward, asking bigger questions about life, purpose, and truth. Ruled by Jupiter, the planet of growth, wisdom, and opportunity, Sagittarius energy is driven by curiosity and optimism. This sign wants to understand how the world works, not just emotionally, but philosophically and spiritually. Sagittarius is less concerned with details and more interested in the bigger picture. Sagittarius placements often feel restless when confined. They thrive on freedom, movement, and new experiences. This doesn't always mean physical travel. It can also show up as a love of learning, teaching, storytelling, or exploring belief systems and philosophies. At its best, Sagittarius energy is enthusiastic, open-minded, and inspiring. It encourages growth by reminding us that life is meant to be experienced, not feared. Sagittarius brings hope, humor, and perspective, especially after emotionally heavy experiences. However, Sagittarius can struggle with follow-through. Because it is always looking ahead, it may lose patience with limitations or avoid uncomfortable responsibilities. Growth for Sagittarius comes from learning that expansion is most powerful when grounded in accountability. Sagittarius also teaches truth, but with wisdom. While honesty is a strength, maturity comes from understanding when and how truth should be shared. Capricorn is the 10th sign of the zodiac, representing structure, responsibility, and long-term achievement. After Sagittarius dreams big and explores possibilities, Capricorn asks a practical question. What can actually be built from this? Ruled by Saturn, the planet of discipline, time, and mastery, Capricorn energy understands that real success is earned through patience and consistency. Capricorn is deeply connected to goals, legacy, and personal integrity. Capricorn placements often feel a strong sense of responsibility, sometimes from a very young age. They may mature early or feel pressure to succeed, but this pressure also builds resilience and strength over time. Unlike flashy ambition, Capricorn's approach is steady and strategic. This sign values progress over shortcuts and understands that meaningful accomplishments require effort. Capricorn teaches that endurance is just as important as talent. At its highest expression, Capricorn represents wisdom earned through experience. It understands limitations not as obstacles, but as frameworks within which mastery develops. Capricorn can struggle with overwork or emotional restraint. Growth comes from learning that vulnerability does not weaken authority, it strengthens it. Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac, representing innovation, individuality, and collective progress. After Capricorn establishes systems and structure, Aquarius questions them, asking whether they still serve humanity's future. Ruled by Uranus, the planet of change, rebellion, and awakening, Aquarius energy is future-oriented. It seeks progress, originality, and freedom from outdated norms. Aquarius placements often think differently from those around them. They may feel like outsiders at times, but this perspective allows them to see possibilities others overlook. Aquarius thrives on ideas, innovation, and social change. This sign values independence, but also community. Aquarius understands that true progress benefits the collective, not just the individual. It often shows interest in humanitarian causes, technology, or social reform. Aquarius can struggle with emotional detachment. Because it prioritizes logic and objectivity, it may distance itself from emotional intensity. Growth comes from learning to integrate intellect with empathy. At its highest expression, Aquarius represents visionary thinking, the ability to imagine a better world and work toward it. Pisces is the 12th and final sign of the zodiac, representing compassion, intuition, and spiritual integration. It completes the zodiac cycle by dissolving boundaries and reminding us that everything is interconnected. Ruled by Neptune, the planet of dreams, imagination, and transcendence, Pisces' energy is deeply intuitive and emotionally sensitive. It absorbs the emotional undercurrents of its environment, often feeling things before they can be explained. Pisces placements are often empathetic and imaginative. They may express this through art, creativity, spirituality, or emotional support for others. Pisces understands suffering and compassion on a collective level. However, Pisces can struggle with boundaries. Because it feels so deeply, it may escape when overwhelmed through fantasy, distraction, or emotional withdrawal. Growth for Pisces comes from grounding intuition with discernment. At its highest expression, Pisces represents unconditional compassion and spiritual wisdom. It teaches surrender not as weakness, but as trust in the greater flow of life. Pisces reminds us that logic alone is not enough. Meaning is also found through feeling, intuition, and connection. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe, leave a like, and comment. Interested in more astrology content? There are more videos just like this one on the channel. Remember to stay curious and believe in the universe's magic.